Medfield TV.
Well, hello, it's Gil Rogers, and this is the next video in the series Let's Go Farming. And in this program, we're going to focus on the value and the benefits of local agriculture, local food, and local farms to the schools, to the academic program, and to the students. And we're doing it through a series of programs at different schools in Medfield. Memorial School, and then we moved to Wheelock School and the Victory Garden, the Blake Middle School, and then the high school. So we're going to go through and have a series of interviews and discussions about the program and then show the students in the background. Well, hi, it's Gil Rogers. We're at Memorial School in Medfield, and we're going to see a very interesting example of agriculture at the local level. And with me is Kathy Ravinski. Kathy, good morning.
Good morning.
Early in the morning, yeah.
Good morning.
Kathy, just say a little bit about how you got this project started.
Sure. So I started this class garden in 2012 with my first graders. The Medfield Coalition funded it through a grant that I wrote, so very much supported by the school community as well.
Excellent.
And each spring I head out here with the kids and we plant a whole assortment of vegetables and flowers, and we tie it into our organism science unit, which is part of the standards for first grade.
That's interesting. You mean in the first grade curriculum there's actually a element or a phase of it that has to do with local growing and
yeah, it's not necessarily specific to farming and agriculture, but we tie it in. So we have a grade level unit on what we call organisms, living things. So it could be plants, animals, humans, of such. So we first grade has a number of different ways that they approach it, and I do it through our garden, but also through our unit on honeybees. We sort of tie the garden and honeybee unit in together here.
So this has been going on since 2012?
The garden has been going on since 2012, yes.
Wow.
Yep.
What have you found that the kids have gotten? These are third graders now?
First graders.
First graders.
First graders, yeah.
And
little ones.
What have you found the kids get out of this?
So I will tell you, they are always excited. I mean, they're just thrilled. And I think for a handful of kids, it's not always a new experience. We have some children who have had some exposure to gardening on some level at their homes, typically, or with grandparents or other family members. But for many children, they've never done something of this nature.
Sure.
And it's very exciting for them to start from beginning to end, sort of understanding, sort of the parameters around growing, and how we tie that into, the good and the bad about a group. One of the questions I asked yesterday was, are all of our seeds going to turn into a plant? And we had a lot of curious faces, many that said, of course, yes, and some were like, maybe not. So it kind of raises that whole awareness of, of course, we would love for all of our lettuce and carrots and beets and such to grow, but we sort of understanding that sort of that living organism piece for them is important.
Do you find that the kids change their eating habits after doing this?
It's interesting you say. So one of the things we hope to do is have our salad day come in June, right? So we grow a number of different things. Typically things that will grow quickly because we have a short growing season, obviously. Radishes, peas, carrots, things of that nature, lettuce, and we have a big salad day in June. And I've had parents in the past who come to help that day, and to quote a parent from a few years ago, my son is never going to eat this. Her son ate the salad and enjoyed it. So yes, I do find that kids will try it. They may not love the radishes, all of them. They may not love the salad necessarily, but most do, and that's what's so wonderful. And I've had many parents say to me, my kid is eating vegetables for like the first time. So it's a nice sort of benefit of the project.
I think when they see that a seed can turn into a carrot.
That's it.
And then they can come out here and pull the carrot.
That's right.
That's a real...
They love it. They love it. Then they just, we will put all of our seeds in today, and they'll be here tomorrow wanting to know where they are, right? So part of that is like learning patience and knowing the different parameters around which, how quickly things germinate and how quickly they come to fruition. And then kids actually enjoy the garden, families enjoy the garden throughout the summer, because obviously not all of our vegetables are going to be ready by the end of the school year. So I set up a summer gardening. Whoever's interested and willing and available in the summer who want to come and continue to tend the garden, families will do that throughout the summer from this year's class and enjoy whatever comes. So
what out of the first graders, right? What's the most surprising question or comment that you've heard from a little kid?
Well, they again, I think it comes back to they think it's this they're going to get a carrot tomorrow, and so they I find that they learn the whole process slowly, but they also just get so excited when they reap the benefit of their hard work. And they're getting dirty. I think it's interesting. You come out here and they want to put the gardening gloves on, but they learn really quickly that's actually easier to garden without the gloves. And I said to them this morning, I said, it's a fun day, it's an exciting day, but you're going to get dirty. And that's okay. So, and they need to. I think in today's day and age, we need more hands-on learning, and this is about as great as it's going to get, and they just love it.
What message would you like to give to parents of kids at the school that this program really offers in the education system?
Well, I think one of the challenges that I feel as a teacher, this is a garden that my class does. It is the only garden here. I would love to see it expand.
To all schools.
Well, again, wouldn't that be nice? And there are limits to how much we can do, and I understand that. And maybe not all teachers are interested. This is a passion of mine personally, and I tie it into my unit on honeybees as well. So, but I definitely find it's a very hands-on, age-appropriate project for young kids, and helps them understand in a broader sense, where their food comes from. As we work through this, we're going to put these seeds in today, but then we spend a lot of time in the classroom reading books and dissecting really what is this process, and then how does it impact all of us. So they can go to Shaw's or Roach Brothers and buy their vegetables, but how does it get there in the first place? And so we spend some time on that as well.
So it's miraculous how a little tiny seed, like a little carrot seed or a beet seed, can turn into this giant, edible, nutritious, valuable product. Yes, and I think that's part of our health curriculum here at Memorial and elsewhere in the district. They are focusing on those things, so it's a really nice tie-in. Again, it's a personal interest of mine. Wouldn't it be nice if all kids could have exposure? I do know that when my students leave, often they will continue this at home. And they expand upon it with their families. So that's, to me, success right there. Yeah, and I guess in a way you're teaching parents too, aren't you?
Sure.
Not just the kids.
Sure.
The kids are teaching the parents about
the
value of local growing.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. We look forward to see the kids.
They're on their way. They're excited. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
I'm here with Sonja Johanson, who's a master gardener and is responsible for the Victory Garden at Wheelock School. Thank you for being here and participating in this program.
Thank you for coming out to see the kids.
To start off, maybe you could just give a background about the Victory Garden and how it got started and what it's been doing for the Wheelock School.
Sure. And the Victory Garden that is here was started about 30 years ago. And at the time it was started as a food production garden to supply food for the food cupboard. It didn't actually serve Medfield, they were trucking the food into the Boston food cupboard. And they had the kids coming out and helping to plant. Over time, the classes became involved in the garden, and the people who were doing food production moved out, retired, and it just became a school garden.
Great. Now, this is Wheelock's for second and third graders.
Correct.
How do you divide up kind of the task for the second and third graders?
The cycle that the kids go through is that they come out in the fall when they're second graders and they have a tour of the garden. They learn about the garden. They plant garlic at that time. Then they come back in the spring of second grade and they plant potatoes and carrots that they'll use in their Rocky Woods feast. They come back in the fall when they're third graders and they harvest everything. They absolutely lay waste to the garden. And they come back again in the fall, in the spring when they're third graders, and they help prepare the garden for next year's planting.
Mm-hmm. Now, as second and third graders, what do you hope the kids get out of this? What's the benefit to the kids of being able to work in a garden, to be able to see plants grow, harvesting, and then have a big celebration in the fall?
So this is a really interesting garden. Most school gardens are linked to the science curriculum, and certainly we do a lot of science teaching when we have the kids out in the garden, but this garden's actually linked to the social studies curriculum. So the students at this school study the Native Americans and Pilgrims, and their planting is around what it would be like to have to grow your own food, what those people experience when they're growing their own food. And many kids have never seen a potato come out of the ground until they do it here. So their planting is for that purpose. And we do grow a Three Sisters garden, which is a type of companion planting that the Native Americans did, so the kids can see how that works as well.
What have you, now you've been at this for 10 years?
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
Now I'm sure it's grown and changed over 10 years. What have you seen as been sort of the major developments or evolution of this program?
So when I came into this garden, it was a very typical garden. There were tomato plants and there were squashes and things that needed to be harvested in the summer. We've changed it over the years to become a fall harvest garden so that it's the kids who are harvesting, because the kids aren't here in the summertime. So everything that's planted here is intended to be harvested in the fall. It's all root crops, or instead of sweet corn, we grow popcorn. Instead of summer squash, we only grow winter squash. We grow watermelons, which are a fall harvest crop, and the kids get to pick those watermelons in October, and they get to spit watermelon seeds, which they have never done because you can't buy a seeded watermelon anymore. It's all seedless in the grocery store.
And how do you see it changing in the future? I mean, you've been in it 10 years. If you went out another, 2 to 3 years, how would you like to see it change or grow?
Well, one thing that's happening now is I've moved. I don't live in Medfield anymore. So I'm transitioning this garden to a team of people who are running it. We have about 5 or 6 master gardeners and a crew of parents who are interested in becoming involved, and I'm training that team to run it themselves. And every year, hopefully, bring in new people and add to the team so that there's always people who know how to take care of the garden.
Mm-hmm. Great. And how is this funded? I mean, it takes some resources to keep a program like this going.
Sure. All of the work in the garden is volunteer. All the people who work here are master gardener volunteers or parent volunteers. We get a stipend from the PTA every year for buying seed potatoes and onions and replacing tools. And we've had grants for things. So we had the Medfield Coalition gave us a grant for building the shed, and it was built with volunteer work. We had Boy Scouts do fundraising for the new arbor. We just got a grant for our new irrigation system from the master gardener. So it's all community funded.
We're going to see the next class come out in a few minutes.
Yep.
What are they going to be doing?
So these are third graders. They have planted and harvested before, and their job today is to help get this garden ready so that the second graders can have it. They are going to be wood chipping the entire garden. One of the things we do to make this a low maintenance garden is there's no water except on the beds where the plants are, and everything is wood chipped so that we don't have weeds in the beds, and it's wood chipped very deeply. And that would be a lot of work if we didn't have 100 third graders dump wood chips all over the garden. They are amazing. They get it all done.
Well, thanks very much. We look forward to seeing the class in a couple of minutes.
Thank you very much.
Hi, it's Gil Rogers. This is the next in our series of programs on Let's Go Farming. And in this particular program, we're going to address Let's Go Farming from the perspective of schools. the perspective of education, the perspective of how students are getting used to cooking and using local farms and local agriculture. And with me today is Susan Cowell, who is the wellness coordinator and content manager for this program. Susan, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you for helping set up the day, too, because
Sure.
we have a number of videos we're going to do.
Right.
Just to start out, maybe you could just give me your kind of big picture of where you see this fitting into the school program here.
Sure. Well, educationally speaking, we want our students to be able to cook whole foods for themselves. We want them to be independent. We want them to be healthy. We want them to recognize where to shop, how to shop for food, and how to provide the most nutritious meals for themselves and their families as independent adults. So that starts when they're young. We are fortunate in Medfield to have a family consumer science program that starts in 6th grade at the Blake Middle School. And in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, it's very much an exploratory program where students learn basic cooking skills, learning to use produce, learning a little bit about nutrition that complements what they're already learning in their health education classes. But now it's a hands-on, we're really doing the cooking, look what I made, and I can do this type of activity. So we encourage kids to share the recipes with their families and talk to their parents about, having some supervised cooking at home. And the whole idea behind that is to raise generations of kids who can cook for themselves. So when they're hungry, they don't reach for a box of Cheez-Its. When they're hungry, they look in the refrigerator and the produce bin, and they say, what's in here that's a real food that I can eat? The hope being that, going back to the theme of local farming, that as this generation of kids grows up, moves out into the communities, that because they have the skills, they can cook for themselves, they understand the nutritional value of fresh produce, that they will be able to take advantage of either CSAs or other ways of supporting local farms.
Do you find that the parents are benefiting from this as well as the students?
Absolutely. I get numerous comments from parents whenever I see them. Oh, my son made such and such, and he waited for the whole family. So comments like that constantly. Kids will come in and tell me, I made eggs for my family this weekend, and I made that veggie pizza. So lots of anecdotal comments from parents and kids talking about how the enthusiasm behind cooking is fun, right? People love to cook. The biggest problem is that most people don't have time to cook. They don't have time to plan, time to prepare, and time to cook. So what has happened over time through really generations, the last few generations, is as the workforce has changed and people work outside the homes, there isn't time in the homes to prepare food. So we've tended to go for, ready-made meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all ready-made. And we're trying to flip that around and say, it really doesn't take that much time and it really doesn't take that much effort. What you need is the skill and the know-how, and that's what we're handling on the educational side.
Now, I think one of the concerns that lots of people have is nutrition, all these diseases, diabetes, obesity. Do you see that the program has benefits in terms of changing students' attitudes or habits with respect to that?
I do, because part of our program is about exposure. We want to expose kids to foods that they wouldn't ordinarily choose. I think most families have that one, or maybe more than one kid in their family who eats, chicken nuggets and grilled cheese, and whenever you go out to eat, that's got to be on the menu or that child can't eat, in my classroom, and again, it's different here at the high school, but in my classroom, almost every student in school takes my class, so it's kind of like a required class. So it's not just a class for kids who love to expand their, eating. I coined this phrase, I believe I did, called expanding your nutritional potential, and that's one of the goals of my course, is to expand your nutritional potential. So even a 6th grader who would never want to put a tomato slice on their grilled cheese. They're asked to do things like that. Just give it a try. Everything that I do in every lesson is just try to expand your nutritional potential a little bit. So we're trying to stretch the margins a little bit and getting kids used to the idea of trying new foods that are good for them.
Where do you see this going? If you're going to look ahead, for the next, 4 or 5 years, where do you see Medfield taking this?
Well, I would love to see, first of all, in our high school program, which you're going to see in a couple minutes, Stephanie Pollard, who is our international foods and cuisine and also our culinary arts teacher here, she has really expanded on what kids get in the middle school. So at the high school level, She has herbs growing in her classroom and things like that. She would love to see a garden at the high school. I would also love to see a garden at the middle school. We do have the space at the middle school. Right now we just don't have a system in place. It's an idea that we've talked about over the years, but there's never been someone, to staff or to care for the garden, during the year. I would love to see that taken to the next step, where students in these cooking classes can go out and pick some peppers, come in, slice them up, stick them in their omelets.
Well, let's go visit the first class.
Sounds great.
Okay.
So raise your hand if you've ever noticed the difference between a tomato that grows in your garden, the taste, and a tomato that you buy at the store. Raise your hand just so I can see how many people have noticed there's a difference. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's about a third of you. Somebody who's willing to describe the difference, would you raise your hand and I'll repeat your answer. Go ahead.
Sometimes it's just like obviously like the taste, it's like still a tomato, but the taste is just different. With the tomato from your garden, it's kind of, I don't know, like it's smoother almost.
The taste from a tomato from your garden is smoother than the taste of a tomato
and like inside it's
from the store.
Juicier, like, better.
Juicier, the skin is better. It's just all around a better taste, right? So, anybody else?
Well, it just tastes generally fresher, and also the flavor's kind of more flavorful.
More intense flavor in vegetables from your own garden, right, than from vegetables that maybe had to be grown somewhere in another hemisphere and shipped all the way to Massachusetts, right? Okay, good. Yes?
It's like artificial almost, and tastes more natural.
It tastes more natural when it comes from your own garden and less artificial. You're going to use the part of the blade that's right under your hand. So I'm holding the knife at the back part, right in the center, the fulcrum. I'm going to press straight down and I'm going to cut the pepper into strips. Then, if the pepper is too small and you just can't fit your fingers in there safely, you put your hand right on top. Then you're going to top your pizza, just like the pictures, with at least 3 different vegetables, but you can use more than 3. And the choice that you get is not only which ones you choose, but also how many pieces of each one and what size. So if you're a person who loves vegetables, just go ahead and have fun, put on as many as you like, be an artist, make it beautiful and colorful, just like these. If you struggle to eat vegetables and this is something new, I just want you to expand your nutritional potential by trying new vegetables. You can chop them up really small. Okay, and you can hide them under your cheese so that you don't see them. You employ whatever tricks you need to get yourself to try something new, okay?
Well, in summary, we'd like to thank the participants in this program: Susan Cowell, Sonja Johanson, Kathy Ravinski, and Stephanie Pollard for arranging their classes and letting us film the program. We'd also like to thank the students and the parents for letting their kids be part of the program. I think there's 5 or 6 kind of key observations that come out of this. First of all, it gives students a chance to actually see how local vegetables and fruits are actually grown, where they come from. A lot of kids have never seen this before. The second is actually to participate in the planting, the cultivation, the harvesting, and the enjoyment of food. One of the benefits here is the independence that kids get. They learn how to cook, they learn how to prepare food, they learn how to prepare their own snack foods without relying on processed, off-the-counter snack food, which is a big benefit. Another value of this is the value in being able to follow instructions, to be able to look at a recipe and be able to implement it, and to utilize that to produce a rewarding outcome. And a final benefit, I think, is the working in small teams. As you see, the cooking program cooking opportunities, use small groups of students that work together. They have to organize themselves. They have to prepare the food for a rewarding outcome. And the final thing is just the skills and techniques, being able to use knives, being able to use an oven, being able to cook, these types of things. These skills are extremely valuable. I'd just like to point out, if you haven't seen the first show, this gives a bigger picture of how all these benefits fit together. And I encourage you to look at YouTube, Let's Go Farming, to watch that. And just as a preview, we're planning a number of other programs, one where we actually go and visit the CSAs. So we're going to see that perspective to it, particularly as they start to grow crops. We're also going to look at how the schools utilize local produce in their cafeteria. And finally, we're going to explore the benefits to grocery stores and to restaurants in food to table. I'd like to close by thanking Medfield TV, for Aditi for coming up with this idea, and for the staff for putting this program together. Thank you very much.
The preceding was a production of Medfield TV.